Alaikum guys, and welcome back to another Ramadan Rewritten lecture series episode. So obviously by the title of this video, I'm going to be going through my Ramadan journal. I have been talking about this in the last few videos, so if you are not caught up, you should definitely go watch the other videos. Upon request, I'm showing y'all my Ramadan journal so far and what I've used it for and why I'm doing it and why this year and why anything like that. So all of that will be answered in today's video, so sit back and relax. If you are watching this after iftar, then grab a snack. If you're watching this before, so am I. I'm filming this fasting, so let's get on with this. One of my favorite things about Ramadan is how much it really strengthens my relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this journal has played a huge role in that, especially this year. This is my very first time actually doing a Ramadan journal, Quran journal, whatever it is. I have learned a lot so far and we're only a few days in, so for me this isn't just a typical reflection journal. I do have other journals for that. I spoke about it in my last episode. If you're interested, I will have all links below, but this is not my reflection journal. This is not like a journal that I'm using to do like my daily reflection in. Instead, I use it to kind of document my dua, Quran verses that I've learned, and especially stories about the prophets that I learned either through Quran or through lectures. And it's kind of my way of preserving my knowledge of this Ramadan, kind of a way for me to like look back on it in a few years and just kind of see the growth of my knowledge of Islam, because you never ever stop learning, especially in Islam. But it's also a way for me to reflect and apply what I know and what I've learned into my life. Oh my god, is that the UPS guy? Oh my god, my UPS guy is here. My package is here. Thank you. My package just finally came. Sorry guys, this is gonna be all over the place. In previous Ramadans, I would always struggle because I would learn so much, but I would have no way of like retaining the information. I really wanted a place where I would write down key Quranic verses that I'm learning, especially through memorizing the Quran. I'm tracking all the du'as that I want to make or du'a that I learned and that I want to start implementing into my du'a, and kind of dive deeper into the stories of all the prophets or any key figures in Islam. That is why I created this journal, and not just to write and not just to throw things on paper, but it's more of a way for me to learn and be able to look back on what I've learned, and maybe it'll help me next year to know what I need to dive deeper in. So that's kind of like the whole idea of why I made this journal, but you could totally do it whatever you want. This is just kind of speaking of what I'm using this journal for and how I'm using it to help me through this Ramadan. Let me take you through the main 3 sections that I have in my journal and how I use each section. So the first section is my dua collection. So this is where I write all my dua, also especially ones that I come across in the Quran or the Sunnah, lectures, whatever it is. I write all those down. I also really love writing down specific names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala based off what I'm asking for. So for example, if I'm asking him for guidance through a hardship or whatever it may be, I will reflect on Al-Hadi, which means the one who guides. So writing down my du'as really helped me become more intentional with what I'm asking for and how I'm asking for it. And it's so incredibly beneficial, especially when I'm looking back on it in a few years, to see how Allah has answered my du'a. So it's just something really nice that I like. Also, keep in mind that these sections, I did not like block off sections for it because I didn't know how much space I would really need in this journal. It's really big. I would just make a title and I know that that is a dua page, or that's a prophet's page, or that's a Quranic verse page. So I don't really have it split. That is something that I would probably do next year though. I don't have it separated into sections. The second section is my Quranic verses and reflections on them. So whenever I'm reading the Quran and I come across an ayah that deeply resonates with me, I like to write it down, and I like to write down the meaning of it and why I connected with it, or why I'm even writing it down. You know, kind of reflecting on why did it catch my eye. Writing down ayahs helps me really internalize rather than just reading and forgetting, especially when I'm memorizing and just reading the Quran. I talked about one of my goals being to understand the Quran and reading the tafsir. So as I'm reading and I'm finding ayahs, I like to really focus on the tafsir and what's the meaning of it, because we all know that the Quran is a story. It's a giant book. It's a stories and has multiple stories inside of it. So obviously every ayah has a meaning. So I like to write those down just to help me kind of visualize the story, which also comes in handy for me when I'm memorizing the Quran. Also, certain ayahs kind of just, you read them at a time where you're like, this is so relatable to what I'm dealing with right now. So I like to keep up with that. I like to kind of like have a history of it and document it in my journal. So the third section is stories of the prophets and key figures in Islam. I personally love learning about the prophet's stories and especially key figures in Islamic history. All their stories really have key aspects that we need to start integrating into our lives or learn from it and start living with it. So I just love learning about the way life was back then and learning how what they went through and what they learned and what we need to take out of it and what we need to learn from it. So I like to just document that and write that all down. For example, one of my favorite stories is about Prophet Musa alayhi salam and his strength and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when he was trapped at sea. And it's honestly a reminder to always have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's always there when you call upon him. It just helps me like remember that no matter where I am, what I'm going through, what I'm dealing with, what I'm doing, he is there. I just have to call upon him, especially when things seem impossible. Knowing that he is there for you and he's there to guide you and help you, it's just subhanallah, like it's just amazing. So I like to summarize their stories and write down key takeaways that I'm taking from this story that I learned and reflect on how I can implement their wisdom into my own life. So this journal, for me, it's not about writing things down. It is more about internalizing. So every time I open it, I am reminded of all my dua, of all the things that I've learned, my favorite ayahs that I want to take things from and learn from and grow with, incredible people who shaped Islam and their stories and their wisdom and how I want to integrate those into my life. There are moments in Ramadan where I feel so connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this journal honestly helps me hold on to it. Especially after Ramadan, I'm able to look back onto it and see how encouraged I was, especially throughout this month. Honestly, the best part is for me is that I can look back on it at any point in time and see how my understanding and my connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and my deen has grown. It's kind of like a personal record of my spiritual journey. I love that so much, just to have something to look back on. I've never had something like this deen-wise, so it is like very interesting to see how it's going to unfold in about a month from now. So if you're looking for a way to fully absorb everything that you are learning this Ramadan, I highly recommend that you also create a Ramadan journal like this one. Comment down below if you have a Ramadan journal and if you've started one or have had one before in the past. What kind of sections did you include in yours? Do you still use it after Ramadan? I'm just curious because this is my first year doing this, but I've gotten a lot of comments on how I'm using it or why I'm making it and all that, so that's why I created this video for it. If you're enjoying this Ramadan Rewritten series, definitely let me know down below. Let me know what kind of topics you guys want, or if you guys want me to continue this after Ramadan. I'll have to like rename it to something else, but if this is kind of like a lecture type things that you guys really do enjoy watching and learning from, I would love to continue doing that because they're so fun to film and I like it and it's fun and to help people get closer to the deen, and I just love it so much. So may Allah bless your Ramadan, and I hope it's going so well for you so far, and I will see you in the next one, inshallah. Bye.